Today is November 11th, and we have an interview for you with Michael King. Let's talk Yanks.
The King.
Your Yankees news with these two fine dudes. It's time for Talkin' Yanks. Talking Yanks with old Jomboy Jake. Talking Yanks with old Jomboy Jake.
Hello and welcome to Talkin' Yanks. Thank you very much for joining us. Everything good? If you heard us laugh during the song, it's because I hit a ball out of Jake's hand and then it hit the camera. On YouTube, probably you can see it happen. What's going on? It's vacation week for us, Jake. You're in Arizona right now.
I'm missing.
What?
We're missing.
We're recording this week early. Michael King. We just wrapped up an hour interview with him. Delightful. One of our favorite interviews with the Yankee. Just really open and honest, and the same answers he gives the media. We even talk about that. Like, hey, dude, you're really good at giving answers.
And there's a story behind it, we found out, Jim. So that was kind of cool. That was everyone always asks us, what are your favorite interviews? And this is genuinely on the list. He was awesome. He opened it up. He's a normal dude while also having basically a master's degree in pitching. So we got some really good baseball stuff. We got silly with it. He talked about a bunch of guys on the team. We talked about me a little bit. Not enough, IMO.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
He actually seemed rather uninterested in
Oh, my God. The one section, everyone was kind of like, oh, my God, make it stop.
Him and I both muted our headphones.
Yeah.
And then texted each other. Like,
you guys went double mute and text in like that 30-second period.
Let's just guess what he's done. That was our guess.
Gotta be. Whatever he's saying is so dumb.
All right, let's get to the interview. This one's brought to you by DraftKings. This Sunday will truly be a Sunday like no other. With this weekend's major golf tournament, along with both professional and college football, there will be no shortage of action. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook, wants to put you in the center of the action with so many different ways to make it rain. If you haven't tried the app yet, head to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. To celebrate Sunday's action, DraftKings is ensuring all new users are covered up to $100. That's right, you bet. They cover with the risk-free Sunday betting on all Sunday's action. This weekend, there's plenty of action to get in on, so head to the App Store now to make it rain. Jake, name a golfer.
Oh, my God. How about Sergio Garcia, the Spaniard?
Bet on him. On top of those great sign-up offers, DraftKings will have special promotions, odds boosts every day of this year's tournament in Augusta, Georgia. DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure. I have to sneeze real soon. Making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Jomboy when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. DraftKings Sportsbook is insuring your Sunday bets up to $100. That's right. You bet. They cover up to $100 when you use promo code Jomboy during sign-up. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey only. Risk-free coverage. Paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. Guys, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Please.
Baseball.
We are joined by the unofficial 2019 ERA champion, Michael King. Mike, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I don't know why they make pitching limits and stuff like that, because technically it's a 0 on the scoreboard. So you are the 2019 ERA champ, no?
Yeah, the way I'm seeing it. Yeah, you might be tied with someone else.
But
I guess I've never heard of that. But yeah, I'm totally behind that.
You know who he's tied with? Russell Martin.
Yeah.
He's also 2019 ERA earned run champion. Yeah.
You want to know who was ripping me was Kratz this year, because coming into this year, he had like more innings than me, pitching, a better ERA, everything, and he was just ripping me apart. So I finally eclipsed him in the innings count, but he still might have a better ERA than me.
Did that start day one of spring training, or when did Kratz start laying into you?
Yeah, because I think it was something like I was talking about my experiences last year and only getting 2 innings of work, and I was there for whatever it was, 8 games or something, and he was like, "Oh my God, I blow you out of the water," because he had like 3 career innings coming into this year and all that kind of stuff. So then when he actually got another inning, he was like, "Dude, I'm catching ground with you again." So he's a little ball buster.
That's funny.
I mean, you cannot be the first person that he's used that on.
Yeah.
Kratz has spent a lot of time with AAA pitchers. There's probably a long list of guys that Kratz has been like, "I've got more innings than you."
Oh yeah, he uses his lines a couple times, so we let it slide, but because he's getting old, a little senile.
Let's see. I'm looking at it here. Kratz he's got 7 innings pitched with 4 earned runs, so you got him.
Or that's pretty good.
Did you, when you passed him on innings pitched, did you give him a little like, "See you later, old man"?
Unfortunately not, but yeah, I should have said he passed the baton over to me, but no, I wish I did.
Send that text.
That wasn't really what I was thinking of,
Yeah, I guess so. How are you doing, man? You're chilling? You're in the Northeast and you're heading down to Florida soon. What are you up to?
Yeah, so I actually continued to throw throughout October. When I got optioned towards the end of this year, I worked with Sam Breen, our pitching director, and so he kind of gave me a couple things to like look at and either continue to do or do more efficiently. And so the big thing was my command of my fastball was what I thought was fine, and I just thought the movement wasn't there. But when he kind of looked at from 2018 to 2020, the movement actually got better in 2018, except the command of it wasn't as good. So my average fastball command was a half inch below the knees in 2018, and it was like 4.5 inches above the knees in 2020. So he said, "You're throwing the same sinker, except you're throwing it in the hitting zone. And now instead of those being ground balls, they're line drives, fly balls, and that's where you're coming into some problems." So, and for me, I don't know exactly what changed, but I felt like I was throwing at the bottom of the zone, and then I'd go back and look and see that I was 4 inches up, or it'd be thigh high kind of thing. And I didn't realize that I was doing it in game. And then I'd throw one that was what I thought was well below the zone, called the strike. And I was like, "Oh, Higgy or Gary got that one for me," thinking that it was a ball below the zone. And I go look at it on video, and it's right at the bottom of the zone. So I kind of just lost my sights for the bottom of the zone. And so that was a big thing that we kind of hammered in a couple live BPs when I was down on the alternate site. And then when I got back up into playoffs on that DS roster, and I had that one outing, I just felt so much more confident where I was kind of getting it down at the bottom of the zone. I got a bunch of ground balls and felt like I kind of got back to who I am as a pitcher. I was getting quick outs and like those easy little rollovers on everybody. And so that gave me confidence going in. And then I wanted to kind of continue that confidence through October. So I continued to throw through a couple bullpens, and then just really kind of focused on those little tweaks that I was making. And now I feel confident going into a 2-week shutdown, which I just started November 1st. So then around November 15th, I'll get going again. And because I only shut down for 2 weeks, it won't be a long kind of throwing progression. And I'll be back kind of throwing bullpens mid-December, and get a bunch under my belt before whenever spring training starts.
Yeah.
When you get your bullpen plan after the 2 weeks, can you share it with me? Because I'm starting my bullpen sessions with Blitzball to strike out Trevor Plouffe. And I just don't understand what a throwing session is.
We're working on a lot of
I
stuff.
talked with
Pronating.
Taylor. Yeah, I talked with Taylor Hearn of the Rangers, and he was like, "Yeah, only throw like 25 pitches." I was like, "That's hard because I don't feel like I'm good until the 30th pitch." And I blow my arm out 30 to 40, and then I don't do a bullpen for. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I hurt my arm.
You're ready
so I
to
just
go.
need a throwing program. So we'll be on the same thing.
You got to get on something consistent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You said you felt good in the DS. You're one of the few pitchers that did not give up a home run to Randy Arozarena. Congratulations.
I mean, what the hell? That guy's a friggin' stud, huh? Oh my God.
Unreal.
He didn't get out the whole playoff. And what's crazy is like when we first faced him, because I want to say it wasn't his debut, but it might have been his first appearance this year with the Rays was against us in the regular season. And I remember seeing him in the lineup, and I do a bunch of homework on all the hitters, and I see Arozarena, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like I've never heard that name before. And he was in the NL, so I never like really paid attention to him on the Cardinals. And so we were thinking like rookie kid, not going to be anything special, and all of a sudden he just erupts. Obviously had a pretty good season and then totally exploded in the playoffs. But yeah, when a guy gets hot like that, you almost kind of got to get lucky. So I got him on a curveball. I remember on a ground ball back to me. But yeah, he got it going.
Make your own luck, man. That was all you. You got him, bro. I want to, and this was going to be one of Jimmy's questions coming in, and just that first question you answered about what you're working on.
Steal my one question.
You know what I'm saying? Go for it, because I mean, after the first answer, no, I was going to say you give awesome answers when in your press conferences, and even that first question. I mean, talking about working on your sinker in the bottom of the zone, like we eat that stuff up. There's so many guys, whether in baseball or I mean, even the Yankees organization, that they kind of don't give real answers. Has Zillow pulled you aside and be like, hey, stop giving the real answers? Or, I mean, are you just you and you let it rip?
Yeah, I definitely like to let it rip. And I don't know. My dad was actually a news anchor. And so he always talked to me about like having good interviewers. And he said, it's really tough to interview a guy when he's giving you nothing on the other end. So it's tough to make a story of it, or just annoying to make that interview. So I felt like kind of from a young age, having him, I guess, coach me a little bit in every time I got interviewed, made me try to be a more likable interviewer, and make it easier for guys like you, or whether it's like in a newspaper writing stories where I actually give them something to say. So I've kind of had that. And then, yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm giving away secrets, because whatever team I'm going to be facing is going to have so many different analytical numbers on me, and know how many times I use my slider and what location I throw them in, all that kind of stuff. So it's not like I'm trying to trick anybody by keeping it close to the chest. So it's not like I don't know if I really have any secrets. I'm not telling you the scouting report that I'm going to have on certain guys, or like how I'm going to attack somebody. But if it's something that I'm trying to make a mechanical change or a location change, that kind of thing, then I'm very open about it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you and Clark, both interviews were like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh my God, substance, actual things that I can like hear and then see the next day. Like you said something about with your two-seamer, you like throwing it for strike one to lefties or something like that. But later in the at-bat, if you go away, they'll just poke it to left. And then like the next time I watched you pitch, I think it was one of those practice games against the Mets. I was like, oh yeah, you're putting it. Yep. Now I know. So it was cool to actually get, usually those interviews are nothing. So I appreciate it.
Any TV time I can get to, I'm going to take,
Yeah, I love it. What was Pops doing? What was his lane as an anchor? Sports, news, weather?
News. Yeah. So him and my parents met up in upstate New York. And honestly, I don't even know where, but then he got a job in Binghamton as like a weekend anchor. And then his first big job was, in Minneapolis. And so I was born in upstate New York and then moved to Minneapolis for 4 years. And then he got a job in Providence as the head anchor there. So that was kind of where we moved all around a bunch. But then his big line is HD killed his career because he just wasn't as pretty as the young guy that they hired instead of him. And then my mom was like, we got 2 kids now. I don't want to be moving these kids around all the time. We're going to establish residency here in Rhode Island, and you just got to figure it out. So he was an anchor, I want to say, until like 2005-ish. And then I've been living in Rhode Island since 99. So we've been just kind of kicking it since then.
So how many of your friends from your childhood just load that you're on the Yankees? Because, I mean, Rhode Island, I mean, you're a Boston College guy, too. I mean, you just have to have a crew that's like any team but. Yeah, and there are some – I mean, obviously my tight buddies are, like, now huge Yankee fans, and they want the best for me and obviously the Yankees. But I still I'd say the fringe friends are the ones that stay Red Sox fans, and they say, yeah, we'll root for you when you're pitching, but we want you guys to get killed every other time. And like, even my dad grew up a diehard Red Sox fan, and
his big line that he tells everybody, so it's getting annoying, is blood's thicker than dirty water. So that's like his whole thing. So he said that he wasn't going to convert to a Yankee fan until I got up to the big leagues. But so I got traded in 2017, and the whole like 2018, he was a diehard Yankee fan. So he changed really quickly.
That's funny.
It'd be funny if you waited it out even through like 19. It's like, I'm just last game of the season. I'm still out.
Let's make sure you're. Yeah.
I wanted to actually ask you about making your debut last year, because I remember last year thinking, that's got to be frustrating to. Obviously, making your debut is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but like make your debut and then you don't get to do like there's zero chance you're going to get to another game because that's the last game of the season, last series of the season. But now it seems like a pretty good blessing that you got to make your debut with fans and like somewhat normal atmosphere instead of 2020 debut.
Yeah, it was getting a little tough last year because I was up there for 8 days before I pitched. So I was sitting there like, when the hell am I going to get in? Because it's been 8 games and I don't know. I was sitting there like it might not even happen this year and it's going to happen next year. But you're totally right. With obviously having fans was awesome. Gave me a little bit more adrenaline. And then also it kind of gave me security coming into this year where like having the minor league season get canceled, if I didn't get put on 40-man or called up to the big leagues, I don't know what would have transpired coming into spring training, or I guess really like summer camp of this year. So it kind of gave me a little bit more security actually being able to play this year. And then, the fans it was tough. There were a lot of times where I was out on the mound and almost like treating it like a spring training game or something where I had no adrenaline and I wasn't really like present in the moment. And all of a sudden I got first and second, no outs, and I got whoever hit. And I'm like, I got to lock in right now. Like this is a big league game and I'm sitting here with no adrenaline. And I think it works both ways because my first outing this year, I came in bases loaded, no outs in the second inning and didn't feel any pressure. Where normally if it's bases loaded, no outs in any stadium with a packed house going nuts, I'm probably going to get a little bit more nervous, a little bit more adrenaline, start throwing the ball, like missing spots, that kind of thing. But because I had no pressure, it was just, all right, get out there, get a ground ball, get the next guy out. You can sacrifice the one run, but limit it. And that's what I did, where it kind of worked both ways for me. But I think I'm not a type that gets really nervous. So I'd much rather have the over adrenaline and like over emotion, because I feel like I'm best when I'm pissed off or angry or really, really into the game. And unfortunately, that didn't happen this year. Or it was tough to like kind of muster that up, just like mentally kind of train my mind to get in that mood, even though there wasn't really a situation that presented itself for me.
Yeah, do like headphones in the bullpen, hardball style, just like listen to
Love
music.
it when you call me Big Pop.
You mentioned that you came to the Yankees via trade. Cashman had some quotes about that trade. I don't know if you remember or you're even aware, because when you came over to the Yankees, they put you in AAA. I mean, you were absolutely dominating. And Cashman, his quote is, I pulled it up because I just remembered it. He said, in fairness to the Marlins, what he has become is not what was traded. He has gotten better. They didn't trade that guy. What they had and what he has become, he has jumped a category to. Do you agree with that assessment? Was there a pivotal change, or do you think, no, you were that dude the whole time?
I think I was, but I honestly needed some freedom. And so with the Marlins, they need to kind of promote from within. So because they don't have the payroll to go out and buy some big player. So they wanted to make sure that you checked off every box at every level before they moved you up. So I stayed in low A all of 2017. And I felt there were some times where I felt like I could have had a chance of moving up to high A, but they wanted to make sure that I was ready. And then there were certain pitching philosophies that the Marlins had that I like, and my mechanics didn't agree with. So I'm very across my body with a lower slot, run on my two seam, and they wanted me to go all the way over to third base side of the rubber. And so now if I'm on the third base side of the rubber, I'm stepping 8 to 12 inches across my body with a lower slot. I'm throwing that ball from like behind a right-handed hitter. And so it was really tough for me to get command of both sides of the plate from over there. All in college, I was on the first base side and everything. So then when I got traded over to the Yankees, they were like, we want you to do your own thing. And then if we have any problems with what you're doing, we'll step in and fix it. And so they allowed me the freedom to go back to the first base side of the rubber. I then got command of both sides of the plate. And then it just kind of worked out where they moved the hot hand. So I was hot through my first 5 starts in high A. And they sent me up to double A. And then I had like 11 starts in double A, and they sent me up to triple A. And it was a little bit of luck because they had to make a spot in both double A and triple A for me to get up there. And it was actually when Hap got hand, foot, mouth disease, and they sent Chance Adams up to fill in for him. So now they needed a starter in triple A. And then I just made the most of my opportunity because when I would get called up, a lot of times they said, like, you're actually only here for a spot start. You're going to go right back down. And then I had a decent outing, and they're like, well, actually, we might want to see this kid for another start. And then I had another good outing. So then I just kind of was able to stay there. So it was a little bit of luck that way, in that, like, how many guys get hand, foot, mouth disease every year? But it also was, I kind of made the best of my opportunity, you know?
Yeah.
One in every 100 million Americans are stricken down with hand, foot. That was nuts.
Have you and Coney,
So crazy.
have you and Coney ever chatted, David Cohn?
Not
because
not like friendly.
Oh, but not
as in, like, he's only
okay.
like interviewed
like
me.
Just
professionally.
only a fist fight,
Yeah,
and then we went our separate ways.
You guys, I mean, you've given a couple answers here that are just straight out of David Cohn's like personality. Like his whole book is about how in minor leagues everyone tried to tell him how to pitch, and he just needed someone to be like exactly what the Yankees did with you. And talking to the media, it seems like, I don't know if you have the wild child side that Cohn had. He was pretty crazy as a player, but
Probably not.
I feel like you guys should touch base at some point.
Link that up.
Yeah.
Link it up.
Link that up. How big are you peacocking in 2018? Because I mean, go from the Marlins to the Yankees, and 12th round pick, Boston College. I'm sure some scouts are hyping you, some scouts aren't hyping you. And then you go, 1.7 across 3 levels, 1.79, and you're back to your normal throwing motion. You're in the Yankees organization. I mean, you're tasting it a little bit, right?
Yeah, I guess. But it was one of those, like, I always just kept saying they're all minor league stats. Like, I won that minor league pitcher of the year for the Yankees, and my mom thinks it's like the coolest thing in the world. And I'm like, it's a minor league. No one's going to remember a minor league season. So that was the whole, I was trying to keep a chip on my shoulder and stay motivated for what's next, because minor league numbers mean nothing if you're not going to produce in the big leagues. So I definitely had a little bit of a taste of myself, but I tried to stay humble and tried to continue to work towards a big league goal. And then it was tough because then I come into 19 hurt. And so it was tough to kind of build off that good year of 18. And I was working on some good stuff in 18 to really get my slider down. And so I normally take about, I used to take 6 weeks off in the off season. So that's what I did after 2018, start my throwing program, everything's feeling good. And it was right when I got to spring training. It was my 6th bullpen of the year, something like that. I started feeling my elbow. And so then I had to shut down a month there, started going again, and it still bothered me. So they shut me out for 2 months. And then I finally was okay. But having 3 months off and plus the 6 weeks kind of put a shutdown to my momentum that I built in 2018. So it ended up being a longer battle to get back to kind of who I felt I was. And even coming in 2020 spring training, I didn't feel confident in my stuff at all. I was working on a slider and totally changed it from 2018. Wanted a really horizontal slider, and on a Rapsodo and those numbers, it looked good, but I was manipulating the ball so differently than my fastball that every good hitter could see it right out of my hand. So then in coming into spring training, I was really pitching with just a fastball because I had no command of my slider. And because I was working on my slider so much, I stopped working on my changeup. So I didn't have great feel for that. So as much as COVID sucks, and I wish it never happened, it kind of gave me an opportunity to reset. And then coming into this year, I felt a lot more confident, or coming into the summer camp, I felt a lot more confident in all my pitches. And it was just a little bit of command that I obviously needed to work on towards the end. And once I got that down, I feel really confident coming into next spring training.
Did the Yankees do exit interviews or anything like that? Did you sit down with Matt Blake, or did you sit down with anyone? And did they do any year-end stuff, or?
Not really. We all stay in contact kind of throughout the whole season, and it's a known thing that we're all going to shut down early on. So I haven't heard from Blake since the season, but I'm sure that communication will pick back up. Honestly, the locker room when we got bounced was not a fun locker room to be in. So, I mean, it's just depressing. And then you like, it's totally different than a minor league season. I really didn't think of this because at the end of a minor league season, guys are almost happy. It's like it was a grind of a minor league season. Now I finally get to go home, and it's not like you were getting paid much, so it's not like you're going to be missing a paycheck. And so guys were happy to go home. And for the most part, every single one of those guys you're going to see them in spring training. So it's not like there's going to be, unless there's a couple trades, maybe a couple guys get released in the off season, but for the most part, everyone's coming back. Where we're leaving that locker room, and you got guys possibly retiring, guys possibly getting traded. You got all the free agents that could not get signed back. So it's going to be a totally different team. And you're sitting there like, damn, this sucks right now. And we're obviously going after a World Series, so it's that much worse. And we lose to our rival Rays. So it was like a combination of everything made it so it really wasn't a fun locker room to be in, like obviously. But so there wasn't many like words spoken. It was just a sad locker room, sad day, and then playing right home the next morning.
Yeah.
We were sad here too.
If it helps, we were also sad.
We
Yes.
were also sad.
Yeah.
Misery loves company, right? So then I guess what to you then, what are your kind of goals this offseason? Is it working on secondary pitches? Is it, your fastball is electric. I know you just mentioned you're trying to get it down a little bit more. I mean, is it get that even better? What are your kind of goals going into this offseason?
Yeah. So there are a couple things with my fastball. This is something that I want to, that I actually was kind of learning from Britton. Britton always talked about how his sinker was so much better when he didn't throw it as hard. He said, I felt like I had 97 in the tank, but when I was throwing at 97, it was flat. And that's when I started to get hit. Where when he sits at like 93 to 95, that's when he feels like he really has the depth to it and the ability to get all those ground balls that he gets. And my velocity went up this year a little bit. Like in 2000, I always go back to 2018. My average fastball was like 91.7. And this year, my average fastball was like 93.7. So I was a good 2 miles an hour harder and wasn't getting the same ground ball rate that I was normally getting. So I want to kind of see that. I want to look at the numbers between like a 91 mile an hour fastball and a 94 mile an hour fastball and see if the depth of one of them is substantially higher than the other one, because that's obviously what I need for ground balls. And then the other thing is I've been so focused on my slider in the past it's been a very tough pitch for me to get. I felt like I had a decent one in 2018, but it was really a pretty shitty one. It's just I could command it well. And so because it was something different than my fastball and I commanded it well, it worked. But once I kept going up in levels, my numbers on my slider weren't as good. So I think and I did it in that last playoff outing, changed it to a curveball, because for me and my slot, it was really tough for me to get a consistent release point just on the side of the ball, which is the slider, and you get that horizontal to it, where I know my fastball, I'm on the inside, my changeup I get on the inside, but then throwing a slider that was right here was really tough for me. I either stayed behind it too much and it kind of backed up on me. It was a little spinny guy that got launched a lot, or I got way around the side of it and it looked nothing like my fastball and was very distinguishable for hitters, so they could either lay off it or sit on it. So for me, I then was trying to work on getting my fingers to the front of the ball like a slider should be, where I'll see if I can get it on screen. So instead of like me being right here, which is kind of cuttery or backup slider, or me being out here like a curveball, I struggled to get there, but I wanted to stay on the side of it and then get my fingers out in front and be able to kind of get that horizontal movement. And so the way for me to do that was to learn how to throw a curveball. Oh, there you go.
We got a rock here. We got a pill.
Yeah. I need the blitz ball on you though.
We got like 50.
You can't see it right now. We've got these soundproofing things on our ceiling, and there's a little angle, dumb guy stuff that you can throw it the right way and get it stuck
off the
up
wall,
there.
the ceiling, and
we have like 15 blitz balls on our ceiling right now. Producer Big Baby David just sprinted to go get one, but we'll get one in a minute.
So for me, because the slider was a really difficult position for my hand to get into, And I started learning to throw curveballs just to feel my fingers in front of the ball. And then hopefully it got me to where I was throwing. There they are. There we go. So I was, and this was actually, I was working with Harkey in the bullpen. He said, throw that curveball, get your fingers in front. And then once you get that feel for it, now go back to the slider grip and rip it. And it still was a little inconsistent, but my curveball actually started to get more consistent. So I felt like because every time I was trying to throw my curveball, I was just trying to get my fingers as far in front of the ball as I could. It made it a lot easier for me to consistently get there, because I was just saying, just get in front of the ball, instead of like a slider, stay behind, and then rip. And that was tougher for me. So it developed into a curveball this year. And I always called it a slider, but it was like on TrackMan and everything, they listed it as a curveball. And so then once I got optioned down and I was in that alternate site talking to Sam, it was a big thing. Like, yeah, I think the curveball is the way to go if you actually feel confident in it. And then I threw it up in the playoffs for the first time in a real game where I was really trying to throw a curveball, and got a Rosarena out. So I was like, all right, maybe it's actually a good pitch. So that's going to be a main thing, just to continue to kind of develop that. But for me, I felt like I just got away from my identity. So the big thing for me this offseason is getting back to getting quick outs, sinking at the bottom of the zone. If I don't get up in the count 0-2, 1-2 like I'm trying to, it's just kind of throw that BP fastball, get a quick rollover, get to the next guy. Don't go after the punch out. Because that was my whole 2018. I prided myself on going deep into games. And I always wanted to, I wanted the bullpen to like me. Bullpen hates when a starter goes one inning and now they got to fill in 8. And so if I could go 6, 7, 8 innings every time out, and the bullpen knows that they can kind of relax for the first, that's how we felt in the bullpen this year with Cole. Cole, you knew, was going to go at least 5 innings, and you could kind of chill there for the first 4, because even if he's not on his game, he's going to figure it out and get you at least 5. So he's going to help the bullpen out. And that's another thing Cole was big on, like how many innings he had in 2019. So he just can eat up those innings, get deep in a game, and save a bullpen. And that's been my whole identity, my whole life. And even in college, I felt like I wanted to go CG every time. Obviously, it's tougher with better hitters, but as long as I can kind of get back to that, instead of who I thought was, okay, I go to the bullpen. Now bullpen is just all punch outs and walks. And it's like, if you can just punch out a bunch of guys, it doesn't matter if you walk a couple. It got me away from my identity. And then I was trying to pitch to my weaknesses and trying to get into advantage counts and throw that slider that I didn't have great command of. So I wasn't really convicting it well. Where when I get into my rhythm, I can get to a 0-2, 1-2 counts, rip a slider, rip a changeup, whatever it is. And if I miss, it's just, all right, get a ground ball, get to the next guy. And now I can go 6, 7, 8 innings in under 100 pitches, and it helps the team out that way. Saves the bullpen, saves the staff. And I think that will come from attacking the bottom of the zone with a sinker, where if I'm giving up a bunch of hits on my sinker, then I can't be working quickly, you know.
Do you look at the expected stats at all? Because like the expected stats on your sinker say you just ran into a lot of bad luck. They all say that you were pretty good. I mean, the slugging on your sinker was 517. The expected slugging was 369. And that's a big jump. The batting average was 328. The expected was 250. Is that something that you look at and does that do anything for you mentally, or do you avoid it, or how do you look at those stats?
Yeah, that was another thing that when I talked to Sam Breen about it, he said, you've honestly been one of the most unlucky pitchers in the big leagues, so I don't want you to lose confidence. The thing is, for me, and like you're saying, I give up a lot of soft contact hits, in that I'd give up like a 70-mile-an-hour exit velocity, but it had a launch angle of like 30, which means it's soft enough to drop in front of an outfielder, but hard enough to get over an infielder's head. And the only times that I've ever done that in my life, or that I've realized I've done that in my life, or given those up, is when I'm up in the zone. And it's because I can because I have some run on my fastball, so I'm hopefully going to miss barrels. So I'm getting it in on a fist of a righty or off the end of a bat of a lefty. But if I don't have the depth of it, then it's not ground ball. And that's my whole philosophy. I was thinking I didn't have the depth on my fastball, and they were just staying on the bat path, but just getting off the end of the bat and weak contact. And then it wasn't until Sam said, you got to get the ball down, because now if that's below the zone, those are ground balls, and 70-mile-an-hour ground balls are outs every time. But those 70-mile-an-hour little bloopers will find. And that, I remember talking to Ottavino about it, and Otto was like, if you look at the expected batting average off of like a 70-mile-an-hour exit velocity with a 30-degree launch angle, the expected batting average is like 850 because it's in that perfect zone. And he's like, you think it's the expected batting average should be nothing because it's a 70-mile-an-hour exit velocity. But I know I got the big line is like BABIP or whatever, batting average on balls in play.
Yeah.
I got BABIP to death, but it's still one of those where I shouldn't allow a hitter to do that to me because I'm also missing my spot. So as much as someone would tell me like, yeah, you kind of got unlucky, when I go look at the actual result of the pitch, it was nowhere close to the spot that I wanted it to be. So that's where, yeah, I'm getting unlucky in that sense, but I also created my bad luck by not throwing the ball in the right zone.
It's a good spin on it. I'm just going to say you got unlucky.
Yeah.
All right,
I
thanks.
like your mindset.
But at the same time, I mean, we scratch the surface of analytics. I mean, we do a lot of fart jokes too, but we try to be as encompassing as we can be, and it's refreshing to hear that because you do have to appreciate what the stats are saying. And yes, some people would say, yeah, 70 miles per hour off the bat, tough luck. But if people are hitting it that way, and that's where sometimes we get, I wouldn't say frustrated with Gary, but I feel like Gary Sanchez on the hitting side, it's almost different. Like Gary hits these lasers to left field, but the left fielder plays him at the warning track to the point where it's like,
That's not really unlucky.
they kind of played you that way. Like that was kind of their plan to a little bit. So it's this weird, I think it's going to be
For
kind of
BABIP,
the next
for-
step of
yeah.
analytics that,
But you and Gary could be called the BABIP battery. That's kind of cool.
whoa. Whoa.
But yeah, and that's where like it's that's where I like the analytics coming into the game. So if I'm the pitcher to Gary Sanchez and we're playing him to left field, the thing that's tough about that is now as a pitcher, you kind of have to pitch into his strength.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say, we're fine with you hitting a rocket to left field because we're going to have a guy there to catch it. But in the mere chance that he gets under that ball a little bit, now it's a 500-foot home run.
Right.
So it's that, and that's where like all pitchers have battles with the shifts and everything because you only notice the shift when it gets beat, when someone's playing up the middle and a rocket's hit up the middle and it gets caught. You don't think like, oh, thank God the shift was there. But when a soft ground ball is hit to a shortstop and the shortstop's not there, you're like, what the hell? Why are we shifting kind of thing? So that's a constant battle that all pitchers have had in this new wave. But for the big thing that I like doing is having my own approach against hitters. As much as the analytics will say he'll hit the ball here, or he's expected to hit a $120 off your slider. If that's all I know on a hitter, and I go up there and my slider sucks that day, now I have no idea what to do against him. So that's where guys will do their own homework, and I love doing my own homework on hitters because if I know that my slider sucks, I'm going to know your first hole in your swing, your second and third hole. Where if your first hole is a pitch that I don't have, or even if it's just that day or just in my repertoire in general, I'm obviously not going to throw it there because it's now kind of my weakness to your weakness, which you're going to have the advantage of. So by me knowing kind of how to exploit hitters in multiple ways, and I think I had to learn that as a starter because you can't do the exact same sequence to guys 3 times in a row. You have to know, I don't know. And then there's certain things where some hitters, you can exploit a hole in their second and third at bat based on what they do in their first. So sometimes I love not shifting early in the game to kind of set up a shift later in the game where I know that if a hitter sees that I'm going to attack him hard in, and we're shifting him straight up in his first at bat, he's like, all right, well now I can pull the ball on this guy because they only got 2 infielders on the left side of the infield and he's been pounding me in. And then in his next at bat, we go full shift over and I'm still able to pound him in. Then it opens up a lot more opportunities for a successful shift. And that was something that I kind of learned with Jay Bell. Jay Bell was my AA manager in 18, middle infielder playing in his day. So he understood that kind of thing. So I loved having that kind of communication and it's tough for me as a rookie to come in and be like, hey, let's not shift him this at bat, but let's I didn't want to be that guy.
Hey, LeMahieu, stay there.
there were a couple times because I was talking to Ottavino about it. One of my outings, there were like 4 4-hole singles. And it wasn't just like normal 4-hole singles. It was, we would shift a second baseman over the middle against a righty. And because my strength was throwing that glove side sinker to righties, and now it's in their scouting reports like, hey, he's going to attack you away later in the at-bat. And so I started seeing a bunch of hitters like think opposite field and just hit these weak ground balls in the 4-hole, and we had nobody over there. And so I ended up going, I said it to, it was actually Wade at the time. I don't know if DJ was playing third or if he had an off day or something, but I said to Wade, I was like, hey, if I get to 2 strikes on this guy, I'm pounding him away. I need you to be over at second base. If I miss middle and he hits the ball up the middle, that's my fault. So I was like, just keep creeping back to second base. And it was really Otto was the one that helped me out. Otto's been big for me and kind of my development. We're very similar. He went to Northeastern, I went to BC.
Yeah.
We had like similar mechanics across our body, both sinker slider guys. Like we had some similarities. So I kind of stayed in his back pocket the whole season. It was just kind of learn as much as I could from him. And then when he had those little tips for me, and then it's a guy like Wade where he's not as established as DJ, and I played minor league baseball with him, so I got a really good relationship with him.
Get over there,
like, hey,
Yeah.
get over there, Wader.
Yeah.
Help me out a little bit.
That's funny. Yeah, you and Otto, we had Otto on, and he started talking, and again, like pre-COVID, we got this office by the stadium where our plan was like, yeah, dudes will come over before games, maybe even after a big game. Yeah, let's go. COVID happens, like nobody's coming here.
Yep.
So luckily we started to do this and it's worked out. And so we have Otto on and he starts talking pitching and it's really cool. I mean, you know better than us, but he starts going into some real stuff and we're like, yeah, let's go. And then he started talking about his own stuff. He's like, yeah, when I struggle, oftentimes I get in my own head and I start laboring. And we were like, whoa, that's kind of cool that you can openly talk about that. I mean, is he kind of your like, you mentioned that you guys pitch similar. He's your go-to pitching guy?
Yeah. So I've been saying, obviously you guys met him. When I first met him in spring training of 2019, he seemed to be like more of an introvert. And I was like, I tried, like kind of, because I was just talking about Northeastern, that kind of thing. I was like, I tried, whatever. And then it wasn't until this spring training that we became tight. And he's now, I keep saying it, outside of like my family, he's probably a top 5 person I've ever met in my life. He's so good to the rookies and so good to me. And I also felt like, especially in season, once our game ends or before game, all that kind of stuff, I'm watching video on all hitters, and I love doing it. And some people are like, how the hell do you keep watching baseball when you're playing a full season? Like you don't want to get away from it when you get home. And I've just never felt that way. And Otto kind of said the same thing. So now we're similar in how much video we watch. And then I started noticing that he wasn't just watching video on like the teams that we were facing. He was watching video all around the league. And he'd come in with like, oh, did you see this guy pitch for the Cubs? Oh, did you see this guy? Like, did you see this pitch like to this batter, whatever? And I'm like, how do you have enough? He's got 2 daughters and he's watching all of our games that we're like the teams that we're playing. And he's watching teams around the MLB. So I finally found someone that watches more baseball than I do. And so it ended up kind of starting a conversation that way. And because like we're sitting in the bullpen and now we can, because we're going to attack a hitter very similarly, we then can say, okay, I see this in his swing. I know I want to exploit that. Or I see like I was able to get this guy this way and he's not a cerebral hitter. So he's not going to adjust his approach. If you want to face him, if you want to attack him the exact same way, he's going to do it. Or you face a guy like JD Martinez and he's a very cerebral hitter. And he knows that Otto and I are similar. So if Otto attacks him one way, I kind of have to do something different, especially if we're going to come in after each other. So we would have those conversations in the bullpen the whole time. And then it was like one of the coolest things was on the plane ride home after we got bounced, he sat right in front of me. And it was one of the like cool, him and DJ LeMahieu played chess on right in front of me. And I was like, two friggin' nerds. All they want to do is play chess on the bus ride, on the plane ride home. But since they were sitting right in front of me, I was talking to Otto a bunch. And he was like, I need you in this offseason and you need me in this offseason. Let's come back and let's dominate.
Yes, so you two and me, and we'll all blitz ball and we'll go to Otto's little Dunkin' Donuts, whatever he has in the city. Was it Chuck E. Cheese? So he bought some. I think it was a Chuck E. Cheese he bought and turned into a pitching thing. So just the 3 of us pitching.
Yeah, figuring it out.
Yeah, going over release points, hooking in, and all that stuff.
So that was like a cool thing for me. And I thought he was just kind of like saying it, not really have throughout the whole playoffs. He'd be like, you see that pitch to so-and-so, like that was a terrible sequence, or like this guy, you have to attack him this way. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know, watching baseball, and all of a sudden just getting texts from my new best friend, Adam Ottavino.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Is there anyone that you and Otto would like if they walked into the conversation and you guys were deep in it, and then like a pitcher? You don't have to name
who's
them, I
got
guess,
a
but who would be
bail?
like,
Who's
oh
like,
my
oh,
God, I can
geez.
like
There,
you lost.
I
me
will say
immediately.
there are a lot.
Yeah,
There are a lot. Especially if we're not in game. If we're like sitting in the bullpen and we're able to like see a couple things and that kind of, a lot of guys, because they're all locked in on the game, they want to know. They want to know like, oh, this is where Otto and King say his hole is. So if we're in a baseball setting, they'll be in. Cole's another one that can get way over your head.
Do the hitters ever try to get involved and you're like, no. We're the pitchers
honestly,
are talking.
I would much rather welcome a hitter, because there are certain things that I like to ask. DJ's the best one to go to, because I mean his like Gardner was another one that's so good, where they can just see differences in especially mechanics and release points and that kind of thing, where they're trying to get little tips on pitchers. But like a DJ, a Judge, I loved like Judge would stand in on a couple of my bullpens, especially when he was coming back from being injured. He wanted to see some pitching. And so he would stand in, and I was actually able to like pick his brain and be like, hey, I'm working on this slider, but I need it to come out of the same slot as my fastball. I want it to stay on the same plane as my fastball as long as possible. So if you're able, because a lot of hitters, especially if they're tracking, they'll just be watching, and they'll either say yes or no. And whether it's subconsciously or out loud, they'll be like, yep, and that means they're swinging at it. And if I can get a lot of hitters to say yep, and my ball finishes outside the zone, I know it's a good pitch and staying on plane a lot. And so that was a good conversation that I could have with Judge. I did it a couple times in actual spring training, and then a couple times when he was coming back from injury this year, where I was able to say like, all right, these are the things I'm working on. Look for them, but also like help yourself out. I don't want you to just totally do it for me. And so that's where, and that's coming to this point. This locker room was the best locker room I've ever been in. And I'm sure you guys have been in locker rooms before, where there's always like one or two guys that like no one gets along with, and they're like, yeah, they're kind of the weirdo. It's just how it is, because you got 30 guys in a row with you.
That's me, yeah.
Well, like you got 30 guys on a team, and you're not going to get along with everybody. That's just how life works. But this was the first team that I've been on where there wasn't a single person that I was like, wow, I can't stand this guy. Every single guy was great to me, was like fun to be around. They added something to the locker room. And that's why I was like, this is going to be a team that goes far, whether it's just this year or in years to come, because they kind of built a chemistry of the players that made it so I wasn't afraid going up to an Aaron Judge as a rookie and be like, hey, will you help me out and look for this kind of stuff, or talk to Ottavino, who's got 10 years of service time. He looked at me like a teammate instead of like, all right, rookie, like you got to do your time and then you can come talk to me. Like they all, like Garrett Cole would stand next to me and Nick Nelson in the outfield when we're shagging BP. And we're like, why the hell is Garrett Cole talking to me and Nick Nelson? Like we got a combined half a year of service time and Garrett Cole's up here making $300+ million and giving us the time of day. Like it was an awesome atmosphere in that locker room. And I can't wait to get back in it next year, because I know this team can do some stuff, do some damage.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome to hear. CC used to always talk about the clubhouse, and I think some of those Colorado guys had a pretty bad clubhouse when they were coming up, which is why you say Ottavino's so nice to the rookies and Canley's so nice to the rookies. There's some stories from those times that are like, ugh.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's like kind of the new wave of baseball, where it definitely used to be in the past. Like if you were, and because I was told a lot when I was early in the minor leaguers, especially it was from guys that have retired, they'd say like, in your first big league spring training, don't say a word to anybody, get there early. Don't be in their way. If someone walks in the training room that's a big time guy, get out immediately. Like, don't be taking up their time. And so I was almost scared going into spring training, being like, am I just not supposed to do anything of my own? Like, I got to stay away from all these guys. And it was like right out of the gate, CC's coming up to me saying hi, Judge coming up to me saying hi. And like, they made me feel welcome. And there was nothing like you're a rookie, you have to like know your role on this team. And that was honestly like a great surprise to me, and that's why I felt like I fit in well, and everybody fit in well that was on the team. It's like we definitely had some, because Nick Nelson's like a Southern boy, like got his accent, all that kind of stuff, and I'm like Northeast boy. Like I try to pitch very intellectually where he just overpowers everybody. So we're totally different. And we both sit there talking to Cole or Ottavino or whatever, and they're relating to both of us in whatever way we need it to be, even though we're so different. It's not like only pitchers that do the same thing stay together or hitters stay together. It's like Voigt's like best friends with Jonathan Holder. And so it's like it's not like a divide at all in the locker room. It's honestly really, really cool. And I really don't think that it's like that in any other locker room in the big leagues. And just because I've been in however many locker rooms throughout my life and have never seen it either.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And it's really important. I mean, we do a lot of stuff with Trevor Plouffe, and he kind of opened up our eyes a little bit because you always hope that on your teams and stuff, but it's not often there. And you mentioned some of the backgrounds, but, he mentioned like a lot of the teams normally have like a Latin clique, and like that makes sense though. I mean, those guys grew up in a different part of the world. Like they're naturally going to gravitate to each other, and you need the guys that are going to connect the dots and, bring the team together. So and a lot of the leaders. I mean, you mentioned Judge and CC, Gardy. I think that gets passed down through the years, and we appreciate that, and it's good to hear.
Yeah. I've definitely seen those, like the Latin cliques you're talking about, especially in the minor league, but it all comes from like the language barrier because, and especially when you're in the minor league, they're so young that they haven't learned English yet, where like Glaber speaks perfect English, Severino speaks perfect English, Sessa speaks perfect English. So now we're in this locker room and we're still able to communicate with everybody, where, if Severino didn't speak a lick of English, it would be total Latin clique where I could never talk to him. And because they know English so well, it makes it so there's no barrier at all.
Kratz translate for everyone. Doesn't he speak Spanish?
He tries to. He tries to speak Japanese to Tanaka too, and that's just Kratz. But oh yeah, he was joking about it because this year he finally got into free agency. He finally got his 6 years of service time, and he was like talking to Cashman about extending a qualifying offer to him and all that stuff. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to give me $18 million, so I'll have to worry about that. And so I don't know. He's such a good dude.
I want to get him on the show because I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh,
he's been around.
All of his experience, he has so many like hilarious stories that are just. He's definitely a good interview.
I mean, all the baseball stuff's great, but what else is Mike King about? Are you a gamer? What are you doing on the flights? What are you Netflixing? Like who's Mike King?
I love golf. Golf's like a big thing. So it was tough this season because we weren't able to golf at all. But since I've been home, I've been trying to golf a lot.
Good golf or bad golf?
I'd say better than bad.
Okay.
But, my dad went to college, played golf at Southern Cal, USC.
Whoa.
So he's been like a scratch for a while. So now he's getting older. He's up there. Like he just lost a bunch of distance, but so he's taught me from a young age. And so I've been playing since I was younger. So I can compete, but like Hicksey's like a scratch. So I probably couldn't compete with him.
What's the club you're most confident with?
Ooh.
Honestly, my driver. My driver's probably my best right now. I just got that shout out to TaylorMade Sim. And it's like the best club I've ever had. So I love it. But I mean, I got a golf trip that I'm going with some of my buddies I lived with in spring training down to South Carolina in a week. So that's also kind of why I pushed my shutdown period, because I didn't want to build back up and have to shut down for the week when I'm golfing. So once I come home from that, that's when I'll start throwing. But I got some golf trips coming up, and then that's what I kind of base my off season around. Like once I'm down in Florida and having good weather, I go lift and then I go right to the golf course. But I got into gaming a little bit. I've never really got into COD, but I was Fortniting a lot. I always thought I was pretty good at Fortnite, and then I got kind of bored of it. So I haven't gamed since then. But at the time, I bought myself one of those like portable gaming stations and a headset and all like the cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I like watching video of baseball and playing golf. That's all I do.
That's I mean, I don't want to hit on you too hard, but yeah, I'm going to Arizona this next week and playing golf, and was planning on laying next to a pool, but apparently Arizona gets cold too. So, yeah, man, the Fortnite thing was tough because I gamed, and then you get a little older and it's tough, but like, I'm not good at killing people. So like I was the guy, I was bushing around. It got ugly. Like my friends were bullying me. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it was low.
That's
It was
not it.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like
That's
me
not
for a
the
while.
that's not someone I would want to play with.
No. And that's again a part of my life story.
One of our first interviews, you told like a player that, and he just made fun of you.
Oh yeah, no, it was pathetic. I went through a really sad stage with Fortnite where I would get to the final 3 and I'd have like half a kill and I'd be like, yeah, let's go, baby. And people were like, are you even having fun? I was like, no, I just got involved and it happened. So
Yeah.
All right, a couple quick hitters for you. You
Okay.
warm up to a song written and recorded by your sister?
Yep.
That she wrote for you as a wife. She's a professional musician, singer,
Yeah.
songwriter.
She's definitely the most famous one in our family. We kind of compete about that all the time, but she's got like 100,000+ followers on Instagram, so I can't really compete with that. But
We'll get you.
yeah. So she's been singing for a while. And since she's 2 years older than me, she's 27. But when I was I want to say it was going into my junior year. It was Christmas going into my junior year of college. I used to always say like, Liv, you gotta write me a walkout, because I would always have trouble figuring out what my walkout's gonna be, whatever. And so I would always joke about it, not thinking that she'd actually act on it. And then Christmas, my junior year, that's like her present for me. And it was like the TV was draped with a blanket, and she pulls over the TV and it's like a YouTube video up, and she put out a music video for it, where she wrote it, produced it, and then got a rapper to rap like the verses to it, and she's just like the chorus of it. But yeah, it's called like Messing with a King, and it's all about me and pitching and that kind of stuff. And I was originally thinking like, oh geez, this could be kind of weird, and then I'd feel bad if I didn't like it, because now I can't use it, and it's my sister's song, like I don't want to use it. And it's like one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. And every time one of my teammates hears it for the first time, they're like, that is awesome. And it just happened in playoffs, where Judge was out in right field and I get called into the game, and they play it because we're technically the home team, even though we were in San Diego. And they play it, and Judge was like, I was just sitting out in the outfield, just kind of like minding my own business. And then the song comes on, I was bobbing to it a little bit. And then all the lyrics are like about a king on his mound, like pitching and like all this stuff. And Judge is like, how the hell did he find a song like this? So he comes in and asks me about it. And I was like, no, it's actually my sister. So it was like, it's been cool, because then it opens that up where I'm trying to like help her get more followers. And it sucked this year because Yankee Stadium had no fans. But I was like, if I could be playing that with 70,000 fans at Yankee Stadium, and there are 70,000 people that are listening to it, like, oh, maybe I should go look to see what song this is, because it's cool. It's I don't know. We're trying to like help each other out, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Tanaka warms up to his wife's song.
Yep.
So now we've got 2 Yankees warming up to relative songs.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I like
Relative?
that.
Family member?
Family?
Is your wife?
Family
Your wife's
kid.
not your relative.
No.
No.
Well,
I would get, it could be.
not
but
normally.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Not recommended.
No.
So she got you that for Christmas. What'd you get her that Christmas? Because that's kind of pressure packed,
Signed
man.
baseball.
Yeah.
A microphone. A microphone with like a baseball.
Oh, we're
top.
doing gifts. Oh.
She's really good about making like sentimental gifts. So she always gets like my mom and dad really good presents, and I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, here's a signed baseball, like you said. So she's really good with the gift giving. So she definitely has that on me as well.
Yeah, just throw some pitches in her honor. It's kind of
Yeah. Yeah. This one's called the Olivia.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. Perfect. The other thing I had when you first joined us, we told you I was pretty deep in research.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I was trying to find your path to becoming the king of kings in baseball. There's been a lot of guys with the last name King. You have 27 strikeouts to your name, which puts you 6th all time
Sick.
for Kings. So here's
Okay.
your path.
Yep.
You have to beat Curtis King.
He's done.
He's got a classic 90s pitcher goatee.
Go
He's got 42. You'll eclipse him.
Yeah, next year,
season.
that's
cool. Yep,
You got
yep.
him. Then you have to pass Nelly King. He was 6'6", and looks like DJ if he lost 200 pounds from the 50s. He's got 72. I think you'll get him
All
too.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does get tough. Clyde King, he pitched in the 50s as well. He's got 150. So we can get there.
Good year. Done.
Eric King, he has, where is it? 459. So now we're looking at like
And that's a big jump.
We're looking at a 7-year career with some solid, but he was not
a strikeout pitcher.
No,
7 years and he only had
151 innings, 59 Ks 1 year. So he was
not a strikeout. But
what year was that in?
Eric King was 86 to 92.
So decently.
Was he a starter? Yeah, he was a starter. Besides 1 year. All right. So the King of Kings currently is Ray King. His nickname was Burger.
He's a thick reliever. I remember Ray King.
Yeah, thick reliever. His neck's the same size as his face, basically. And he's got 278. So these are the wrong.
He's not the King of Kings.
Not the
Burger
King of Kings.
Just got out.
Burger's out. It's Eric.
Eric at 450.
459. So you just that's your path to King of Kings.
All right, that'll be number one on my goals. Once I hit that, then I'll make sure I keep that ball. And
yes.
King of Kings, 460.
460. Yeah. King of Kings.
So you can imagine I look over at Jimmy's computer. I'm like, hey, what you looking at there, bud? It's just all the King pitchers that have pitched in baseball.
Yeah.
So heavy analytics.
That's Jimmy Lytics.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll get you the King of Kings. There's one guy named Chick King that played baseball, which I just don't know if you can beat that name. Chick King.
Nope.
So
The Chick King.
Ooh.
Yep.
Get it?
Back
No?
in the day,
the Chick King.
2020,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Little Playboy action.
Yeah. It ain't
All
bad.
right. I think that's all. The only other question I had was going to be like when spring was happening in summer camp and Davey and Clark are getting all this hype on Twitter and everywhere. Are you sitting there like, guys, don't you remember 2018? Don't you know who's going to be on the opening day roster?
Look at that fastball.
What the fuck?
No, I mean, Davey was one that, because I met him, I think it was 2019 when I first met him, and Clark was 2019 really, but I would see Davey's numbers and be like, oh my God, this guy punches out everybody, but I had no idea who he was as a kid. And then when I first was on it, when I was on the same team as him in AAA in 19, he couldn't have been a nicer kid in the world. So I was like, all right, I understand the hype now and want to give him the hype because of how good of a kid he is. And then with Clark, again, didn't know him at all. And this is actually kind of a funny story, so I hope he hears this. One of my buddies who went to URI, I played high school ball with him and everything, and he was drafted by the Yankees. This kid, Chris Hess, he's moved on from baseball. He got released a couple years ago, but he faced Clark in college and was like, Clark's nothing big. He was easy to hit in college, all that stuff. He's like, I don't know what the hype is about him kind of thing. And then Clark has this huge year, and I finally first meet him in 2019 and see him pitch live. And I'm like, what the hell was Hess talking about?
Yeah.
This kid's a stud. And at the time, when I saw him pitch, it was actually in playoffs in AA. And he was 96 to 98 with his banger curveball. And I'm like, okay, this kid's a stud. But to your point, no, I mean that I had my time in 18 and they can have theirs now. But it's always fun with rookies coming up, and now you actually have friends when you're there, and you don't have to go into a brand new locker room. So it was nice having them come in, and even if they don't know many people, they immediately are my friend, and then I can kind of introduce them to everybody else. But I mean, it's good to have a bunch of young pitchers, especially when you're paying one starter 300 however many million. So now it's you're going to need some young pitchers to make up for the lack of payroll, even though the Yankees probably don't have a lack of payroll. But it's always big for a team you can go out and buy great players, great relievers, a couple good starters, but you can't buy 5 good starters because you're just not going to have enough money. So one of us or even 2 of us are going to have to step up next year and in the years coming, because if we can kind of produce at big league minimum or whatever we are at arbitration, it really helps a club out. And that kind of is a recipe for success for a pitching staff. You can have your big 1-2 punch, 3 guys, and then have a rookie that pitches really well. And that's where I feel the Braves are in such a good situation because all their guys went down, and then their rookies really step up, where now you're not spending a bunch of payroll on your rookies and you're able to go out and buy someone big or in a hole that you guys have on your roster. So we're all, and obviously because it's such a good locker room, there's no competition between us. It's just we got to go out there and win a World Series. So if Davey's the hot hand, Davey's going to go out there and get as many starts as he can and pitch dominant baseball, then we're all extremely happy for that. And it again, as being in the bullpen, it helps us out in the bullpen when he's going 6 innings,
Yeah. Davey's presence on the mound is pretty fun too. It's
awesome. As like a little 5'8" kid,
Yeah.
5'9" guy out there, and his hair flying. And then he comes in the locker room and he's such a sweet, nice kid that it's funny to see when he's out there, he's competing, and he's got his game face on, and then he comes inside, he's this smiley, really soft spoken. I don't know. It's good. And that's another one. He's only 20 years old, speaks awesome English. So now we can then communicate that way. And it's not the same way with every Latin player or especially a young guy. But he, from a young age, wanted to learn English as fast as possible. So he's been great that way to be able to communicate with.
It's awesome. That's good to hear. All right, man. We won't take up any more of your time. We appreciate it.
Hit him straight, man.
Yeah.
Have fun.
A lot of fun. Yeah. Enjoy South Carolina.
I will.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Yeah, appreciate it.
Mike King. That was Mike King. He's the best. Root for him. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Jake?
Go give him some love on the social medias. Go tell him, hey, great interview. Liked hearing you pitch. We'll get you more famous than your sister.
Woo!
Maybe.
Ooh, I made the Yankees have more famous. Sister more famous than the music did. Something like that. That'd be rude.
No.
That'd be
So go check it out. Thank you.
Bye.
Go Yankees.
Did it again. That might have dropped as soon as you hit me. Yeah.